Council meeting. Thank you for joining us in this hybrid meeting format. Anyone wishing to access the meeting remotely can do so by watching the live stream on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by following the access instructions listed on the city's public webcasts and meetings materials webpage. Tonight's meeting will include a public comment period, and if you wish to speak and have not already done so, please fill out a request to speak form on our public webcasts and meetings materials webpage or at the entrance to this room. We will accept requests to speak forms until 7:35. These forms will be used to generate the random order of speakers and to correctly enter speakers' names into the public record. The public comment period will be limited to 90 minutes or conclude by 10 p.m., whichever occurs first. If the number of speakers exceeds the time that we have allotted, we encourage speakers to consider abbreviating their remarks so that the maximum number of speakers can be heard. And for those joining the meeting remotely, for the public comment period, you are welcome to email your comments to council, and this is true of anyone giving public comment. As a reminder, council's meeting rules of conduct apply to all attendees, both in the chamber and in the lobby, and they include no flags, signs, loud or disruptive language, any noise or conduct that obstructs the business or of the council. Please keep the room quiet and respectful of all speakers, one speaker at a time, and you are welcome to wave your hands in silent support. Additionally, we encourage all those who are ill or who have had close contact with others who are ill to join our meeting remotely rather than in person, and we have masks available in the lobby if you need one. In case of a medical emergency, an automated external defibrillator, an AED, is located on the counter behind staff on the west side of this room, and emergency exits are through the double doors located at the back of the room and the double doors near the front of the room. The doors to the patio can also be used as needed. And with that, I call the November 10th, 2025 meeting of the Eugene City Council to order. And we begin with a land acknowledgement. Since time immemorial, the Kalapuya people have been the indigenous stewards to our region, building dynamic communities, maintaining balance with wildlife, and enacting sustainable land practices. This land acknowledgement is a way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and to honor Native communities by inviting truth and reconciliation. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. As we consider the impacts of colonization, we also acknowledge the strength and resiliency of displaced indigenous people. The city of Eugene is built within the traditional homelands known as Kalapuya Alihi. Kalapuya descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians of Oregon, and they continue to make contributions in our communities here and across the lands. We express our respect for the inherent political sovereignty of all federally recognized tribal nations and indigenous people who live in the state of Oregon and across the nation. Our first item on tonight's agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. And in recognition of Veterans Day, we will open tonight's meeting with the pledge. To lead us in the pledge, we are joined by Officer Easton McVeigh Walker. Easton is a United States Marine Corps veteran and a police officer with the city of Eugene and served in the United States Marine Corps for 4 years. He served in the infantry as an anti-tank guided missile man, and Easton did 2 deployments with the 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines, and reached the rank of sergeant during his time in service. He's been selected to lead this session of City Council with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you to Officer Easton. This will also be coordinated with the Eugene Police Honor Guard Detail, which will be led this evening by Officer Shane Osborne, who is also a police officer with the City of Eugene and a United States Marine Corps veteran who served for 5 years proudly. He served in the infantry and security forces as a rifleman, and Shane was stationed with Marine Corps Security Force Battalion in Kings Bay, Georgia, 1st Battalion, 4th Marines in Camp Pendleton, California, and deployed with the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit overseas. EPD Guard will now post the colors for the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Post.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the Eugene Police Honor Guard, and thank you to Officer Easton McVeigh Walker for leading us in the pledge. And that concludes our first agenda item this evening. Our second agenda item is ceremonial matters. And I would like to share with you the 6 proclamations that I've asked the City of Eugene to prepare for the month of November. Proclamations are ceremonial documents signed by the mayor and issued to organizations, businesses, and the community of Eugene to bring attention to public awareness campaigns, charitable campaigns, arts and cultural celebrations, and special honors on the recommendation of the mayor. This November, we begin by celebrating Native American Heritage Month. The City of Eugene supports the truth-telling of Native histories and is dedicated to actively listening, learning, building trust, and collaborating with local tribal nations and Indigenous communities, and is committed to working with tribal nations and Indigenous communities to uplift traditional rights, unique tribal histories, and Indigenous cultural traditions. On November 1st, we also recognized Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, a deeply rooted cultural tradition originating in Mexico and celebrated throughout Latin America and in the United States and across Eugene, honoring the lives of our deceased loved ones with joy and remembrance and reverence. Thank you also to Eugene Public Library for the ofrendas that were available and connected with our community. This week, from November 9th to 15th, we celebrate National Nurse Practitioner Week and recognize the countless contributions made by local NPs to support the health and well-being of our community members. Nurse practitioners are trusted healthcare providers across our community and work incredibly hard to expand care across our state, to promote health care equity, and to improve health outcomes for all. Thank you to all of our nurse practitioners. Tomorrow, November 11th, our nation pauses to recognize Veterans Day. Collectively, this is an opportunity to honor the courage, sacrifice, and commitment of the men and women who have served in the United States Armed Forces and taken oaths to defend our Constitution and uphold our nation's values of liberty, justice, and democracy. To our veterans who are here with us tonight and listening to this meeting, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for the depth of care and sacrifice that you have given to uphold our country's ideals and our laws. On November 20th, our city will also recognize Transgender Day of Remembrance, turning our attention and respect to the lives lost in this past year to anti-transgender violence, a violence born of ignorance and prejudice. The City of Eugene has a long-standing tradition upholding the dignity of all individuals, supporting legal equality and fair treatment for all citizens, and ensuring that acts of neglect and violence toward any segment of our population will not be tolerated. And I ask our community to join me in support of our transgender and gender diverse community members and their families and their loved ones in this important day of observance. And finally, at the end of the month, we have the opportunity to turn our attention to our incredible local businesses and our local economy. And on Saturday, November 29th, on the final weekend of November, Eugene will recognize Small Business Saturday. Eugenians do not need their mayor to tell them how incredible, unique, innovative, crafted, curated, and sustainable the offerings of our small and local businesses are, but I will proudly do so whenever given the opportunity. Downtown Eugene and our neighborhood centers in Oakway, Midtown, Westtown, Southtown, indeed all across the internet, are full of opportunities to connect with and support small businesses located right here in our community. And looking ahead to the holiday and gift-giving season, I would just urge all of our neighbors and communities across the region and the country to direct their economic power to local small businesses and the communities that they live in and the merchants who walk with them every day as a part of that community, and then also to continue that habit year-round. Thank you. All of these proclamations in their written detail and refrains are available on the City of Eugene website. Please refer to them. Please enjoy the many touch points we have in our community this month, and thank you for your attention. This concludes our second agenda item. Our third item on tonight's agenda are committee reports and items of interest. And I will now open the floor to committee reports and items of interest from Council, Councilor Evans, and then I have Grove, Keating, and Yeh in the queue.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I want to make a statement tonight to say that I apologize to Cornerstone Development for my inappropriate remarks at the last council meeting. I did not mean to cast any dispersions upon their institution or their LERPD application. I misspoke. I stuck my foot in my mouth, and so I'm apologizing to the board and staff of Cornerstone, and I'm hopeful that we will continue to work together, as I've voted for every LERPD that they have applied for since I've been on council the last 12 years.
Councilor Groves.
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to start by thanking Councilor Evans for your statement, and I appreciate that. My name is Randy Groves. I'm the councilor for Ward 8, which is Southwest Eugene, and I'm also the chair of our Intergovernmental Relations Committee. And to that, I have a report. I'll try to keep it short. The IGR committee met on Wednesday, November 5th to review the revisions to the city's existing state and federal policy document. Committee members provided feedback to staff related to the proposed revisions, with the final draft scheduled to come back to the IGR committee for review and action at the December 3rd meeting. Staff also provided the committee updates on potential legislation coming forward during February's short session related to voluntary annexations, economic development, state budgeting, and a repeal of House Bill 3115. The legislature will hold informal legislative days on November 17 through 19, and the IGR manager will be advancing existing Eugene priorities and gathering more information related to the upcoming short session. On the voluntary annexation item, the committee recognized that there is a council work session on this topic this week, Wednesday, and we are looking forward to the discussion of the full council to inform our guidance and input as bill language becomes available. Currently, council is scheduled for an IGR work session the third week of January to review, discuss, and take action on the 2026 priorities and the state and federal policy documents. Please let your IGR members, myself, Councilors Evans and Yeh, or Mayor Knutson, the city manager, or IGR manager Ethan Nelson, and let us know if you have any input or questions to follow up on. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. I, too, want to express my appreciation and thanks to Councilor Evans for your comments tonight and your leadership. I also want to say thank you and happy Veterans Day. And thank you for the service and sacrifice to members of the Eugene Honor Guard for presenting the colors at tonight's City Council meeting. Happy Veterans Day to all who have served. My late grandfathers served in World War II. One, my paternal grandfather, served in the U.S. Navy aboard the USS Washington in the Pacific Arena, and my maternal grandfather served in the U.S. Army and was stationed in New Guinea. And as much as a thanks and gratitude to my late grandfathers, thanks and gratitude to my grandmothers. Happy Veterans Day not only to the veterans who served, but to the family members of said veterans. So I honor and thank you for your service and your sacrifice. I'll be attending the Veterans Day breakfast tomorrow in Springfield. I want to thank the office of Mayor Sean Van Gordon for the invitation. I will also be attending the Southeast Neighbors meeting Tuesday night, tomorrow night, at the Hilliard, or the Amazon Community Center on Hilliard. And El Rapa, the Lane Regional Air Protection Agency, meets this Thursday at noon at the El Rapa headquarters in Springfield.
Councilor Ye.
Thanks, Mayor. I want to thank the local immigration attorney and the Rapid Response Lane County volunteer who both shared information and gave me a tour at the federal building recently, and thank you to the multiple groups who organized an emergency information meeting on immigration last week in response to escalated detention efforts. Like many people in our community, I'm very concerned about the escalation in detentions by ICE in our community and the reports that people's constitutionally protected rights to due process and legal representation are being violated. People in Eugene may not all agree how Congress should reform our immigration system, but I believe we can agree that immigrant families should not be unfairly targeted, nor denied their rights. Our immigration system is complex and confusing. Having legal representation is vital for people who are trying to do what is asked of them. Eugene has long understood that immigrants enrich our community with a diversity of cultures, traditions, and life experiences. They are not a number nor criminals. They are our families and our friends, our coworkers, our classmates, and our neighbors. And right now, these members of our community are being racially profiled and subject to violent arrest simply because they fit some profile. This includes people here legally. So what can we do? Report incidents of ICE in your area to the PIRC hotline. That's the Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition. Learn more about how you can educate yourself, be an advocate, volunteer, or donate. There are amazing organizations in our community supporting immigrants, including Lane County Immigrant Defense Network, the Oregon Farm Workers Union, Refugee Resettlement Coalition, Rapid Response Lane County, Oregon for All Coalition, and many more. Most of us have an immigration story. For me, some of my family came to this country a long time ago, and others more recently. Each of you has a unique story, but they all led to us being here tonight, participating in our government, trying to create a community that we can be proud of. That type of community, one we have pride in, can only exist if we are supporting our most vulnerable. Thank you.
Councilor Zelenka.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying that, Jennifer. That was well said and good advice. Greg, thanks for saying that. I thought that we did a disservice to the folks at Cornerstone in talking about them in a way that had no reflection on what they do, how they do it, and the great work that they do over the years that they've done many great projects in our community. Apologies to them for that. I will be attending the Public Safety Coordinating Council on the 19th in the afternoon, and on the 18th, the Fairmont Neighborhood Association is having its meeting 6:30 at the Ford Alumni Center at the U of O. Can attend. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Zelenka. I have the city manager and the city clerk. I also have an item of interest to share. City manager, did you want to? Or city clerk?
It's for Councilor Leach.
Oh, thank you. Counselor Leach, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the other counselors for their comments tonight. I just wanted to share that the Whitaker Community Council held an emergency disaster preparedness event this past Saturday at Washington Jefferson Park, where community members could come and learn about how to prepare themselves and their families in the event of a natural or other disaster. They tested out communication devices and some even took some home. And my 9-year-old son and I got to help judge a disaster recipe, a chopped challenge where contestants had to prepare dishes in the style of the TV show Chopped, right? Appetizer, entree, and dessert, only with non-perishable items, no heat or cooking utensils, and just a bottle of water. And so it was really fun, and it was a very good learning opportunity for us and for our community. And I encourage everyone to come next year, where hopefully I get to judge again.
Thank you, Counselor Leach, and I'm sorry for not seeing you there on the screen to our left. I also have a few remarks that I would like to share tonight with regards to some of the news of this past week, as so many in our community are concerned and also confused, but significantly concerned, and that actions involving judicial response, legal response, or the courts is moving incredibly quickly and can be really challenging for people to track, especially if following information through social media. So first, with regards to food security and SNAP benefit access, I want to thank Governor Kotek and the state for issuing full benefits for November last Friday after our Attorney General's successful work on a lawsuit to compel funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program to be released. That continues to be appealed, but locally, those EBT cards have been charged, and we want for people to access food and remain stable and healthy and not hungry across our community and indeed across our country. I also want to thank our incredible partners at Food for Lane County and so many other organizations working to address food insecurity and hunger, and so many in the community who have stepped up to support food drives and make donations of time or financial resources in support. This has been a tremendously important and inspiring response to our community in a very uncertain time to help meet a basic need, and that is just an extraordinary outpouring of care. I also want to encourage people who are now enjoying the experience of volunteering with Food for Lane County to distribute that volunteerism across the calendar and to help our partners meet the year-round needs that we have with regards to food security and access to healthy nutrition. The Mobilize app that Food for Lane County has is a great resource. With regards to activity of U.S. Customs and Immigration Enforcement in Lane County, I have a lot to say, but I will begin and succinctly offer that I want to underscore that everyone in our community has the right to personal safety and protection under the law. Everyone has access to due process as given by our Constitution. I stand with our immigrant and migrant and Spanish-speaking communities, and last week I joined elected leaders serving at the federal, state, and local level, indeed many of our city council members, in opposing the violent detention of our neighbors and the denial of due process to members of our community by U.S. Customs and Immigration Enforcement. This situation is not news to us, but it is nonetheless alarming and unacceptable to learn of reported actions carried out by ICE in Lane County, which include the violent detention of several Oregonians and ongoing reports of individuals not receiving their constitutionally protected rights. These engagements were shared widely across social media and created fear and outrage across our community, and that secondary harm feels quite intentional, as does the first. But our city remains committed to the rule of law and also to the members of this community and our neighbors. We will stand together in this work. We will protect our most valuable resource, and we will refuse all efforts to dehumanize one another and do everything we can to protect our rights. City Manager.
Y'all are a hard act to follow. Two things. I want to also express my gratitude to Eugene Police and the employees that came tonight to do the Pledge of Allegiance and the posting of the colors. I don't think in my entire career have I ever seen that happen at a city council meeting. It felt really special for that to happen tonight. And I think I've been to council meetings almost every Monday night for the last 20 years, almost. So that's saying something. I also committed to talk to you and give you an update every Monday that I was here about what's happening with the technical advisory group. So they had their 8th meeting today. This is a group that is giving an hour and a half of their time every single week to be in the meetings, not to mention the amount of time they're spending doing homework. And I'm going to try to find a way to document that because it's pretty impressive work. In that time, they have taken what we've called a deep dive. They've been educated a lot on our property tax system, revenues, so operations, expenditures. We asked them to learn about that, and then they've been generating some ideas about that. We asked them to learn about economic development and what we're doing, and they're generating ideas about that, and along with revenue. So there's a lot going on. They only have 2 more meetings before I'll be here on December 8th, presenting the draft recommendations. We don't anticipate they'll actually have a final report until January. That'll require more context around what they learned and how they did it. But in terms of recommendations, I felt it was important to do that before the end of the year. I'm hoping a couple of them will join me and be here in the room. So if you have questions, they can fill in. But it's really impressive work, really energetic, engaged group, and a group that I think will stay engaged with over time. Thanks.
Thank you, Council and City Manager, for those updates. This concludes our 3rd agenda item. Our 4th agenda item, next item on tonight's agenda, is Consent Calendar 1. And if there are no questions from Council, I will turn to the Council President to put a motion forward.
I move to approve the items on consent calendar 1.
Second.
Any discussion from Council? Seeing none, I will now take a vote for this motion. Councilors, please lock in your votes on the tablets in front of you. And the motion passes with a vote of 8-0. Thank you. That concludes our 4th agenda item. And the last item on tonight's agenda is the public comment period. Public comment period is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Council on any city-related issues except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official. Staff, can you please share the list and the number of speakers that signed up to speak by 7:35 p.m. and announce the first speakers?
Thank you, Mayor. We have 49 speakers signed up for this evening. I will announce 2 speakers' names at a time. When you are called to speak, please state your name and your ward or neighborhood if known before beginning your comments. When you are announced as the next speaker, please move to the seat in the front row designated for the next speaker. When it is your turn, you may come to the podium. Please leave any bags you may have with you at your seat. If you have documents to give council, please place them in the basket near the podium. You will have 2.5 minutes to speak. The timer will flash red when you have 15 seconds remaining to speak. Your microphone will be muted at the 2.5-minute mark. Please note that the use of profanity is prohibited, and any instances of profanity will result in immediate termination of speaking privileges. Our first speakers this evening are Lynn Woodrich, followed by Ty.
My name's Lynn Woodrich. I'm the active Bethel Community Co-Chair. I've lived in the Bethel area over 30 years. I live in Ward 8. I'm speaking for the active Bethel Community Board. The public health standards is meant to safeguard the public. Without having it put into place soon, the result can be projects that threaten our air and water quality, undermine climate goals, lower home values, and erode neighborhood livability. The prime example is the biofuels transfer station and the fuel tank farm located in the Train Song neighborhood. That's why the Active Bethel Community Board urges the city to prioritize completing the public health standards, one that reflects Eugene's commitment to sustainability and the well-being of its residents. The version 2 of the public health standards is a good first step to approve, taking out the word likely. But where are we with the study of health data that's part 2? Are the researchers in Michigan going to come to Eugene to interview the residents who've been impacted by the polluters? We must move quickly so we don't have another J.H. Baxter-type business located near homes, schools, daycares, etc. Public health standards need to be included in our comprehensive plan to help make land use decisions that truly protect our air, water, and neighborhoods. Together, we can make development in our city both responsible and resilient. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Our next speaker is Ty Weisenflue, followed by Michelle Perrin.
Good evening. My name is Ty. I live in Springfield, but I do own property in Ward 1. Over the last few weeks, I've spoken with over 100 residents about Flock. The vast majority were either deeply concerned or shocked to learn this level of tracking is legal without their consent. Of everyone I spoke to, only 2 were in favor of mass surveillance. This debate transcends legal theory. It's about a major step in creating a system of perfect surveillance that can be turned against us. There are many ways we defend ourselves and our communities, but the quickest way to leave us all vulnerable is to remove our right to privacy in our daily movements. The system reveals when we are home or away, what roads we travel, where we drop off our kids at school, who we associate with, and even what political or religious events we attend. And that's just the entry-level package. The police want the responsibility of knowing where our entire community has been and where they are going. But are they prepared to be responsible for the inevitable leak of this data? When, not if, this data is breached, our license plate become keys. Using previously leaked data from things like DMV records or parking, like Park Mobile apps, criminals can easily match them to our names and addresses. This creates a precise blueprint of our daily lives for sale. The bitter irony is that an organized theft grant will fund a system that empowers organized theft, leaving taxpayers to pay for the fallout. Mass surveillance doesn't make us safer. It makes us more exposed. It centralizes our most sensitive information, creating a tool that, if misused or breached, will harm the very community that it's meant to protect. I urge everyone to reject this system and choose a path that truly safeguards our privacy and our security. Thank you.
Thank you, Ty. Our next speakers are Michelle Perrin, followed by Scott Lambert.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Perrin. I'm a co-founder of Willamette Valley Crisis Care and a Navy veteran. First, I want to say thank you to the city manager, Chief Caven and Chief Skinner, for the gaps analysis presented last week. It's obvious that it was done with intention and care, and that you truly listened to the community, the field responders, and subject matter experts. The information we were honored to share about our work as community responders and how this integrates into public safety, public health, and social needs landscape is evident in this analysis. And thank you to City Council for requesting this thoughtful evolution of services in our community and your future approvals. We noticed there's still some room for bridging of language, which is not uncommon when you work between disciplines like law enforcement, EMS, and behavioral health systems. This language translation is happening not only here, but across the country as we solidify what it means to be a community responder. Where the analysis uses the words peer navigation, it's obvious what it meant is non-law enforcement, non-clinician, peer-led care and support. This peer-led model is different than traditional peer support services, which generally focus on connecting over a single issue, such as substance use, and would never be safe or appropriate to manage hard-to-predict check welfare calls, which are a major gap this RFP intends to fill. It also misses the importance of the medical piece from the beginning of services. Mobile Integrative Healthcare has both a medical and behavioral health professional on the team, so we can treat a person as a whole person. One of the first things that needs to be done on any crisis call or any clinical intervention is to rule out a medical cause. Without a person on the team able to do this assessment and treat any non-emergent medical need, which often co-occurs with behavioral health or social service needs, we would not be as effective and would have to tax our EMS partners to come do this foundational piece for us. Due to this, we're hoping that the Phase 1 and Phase 2 pieces described in the recommendation would be reconsidered and open to additional expertise and understanding. My final ask is for a more definitive timeline. Each day, we're losing our workforce to other jobs and other cities who are ready for us to bring community response to their area now. I also want to name that while we have the privilege to be in safe, supportive space while discussing this critical need, many in our community are suffering alone, waiting for a Cahoots-like team to be available. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Our next speakers are Scott Lambert, followed by Charles Arford.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. My name is Scott Lambert. I think most of you have seen me a couple times at this point. I'm a physics graduate student at the University of Oregon, resident of Ward 2, doing my PhD in physics and a member of GTFF Local 3544. I'm here to, once again, encourage the city council to remove the flock cameras. I applaud the council and the city manager for pausing the cameras, but they need to be taken down. I think ACLU could say a lot of the things that I want to say better than I could, so I'm just going to read briefly from an article that was published by the ACLU that's titled "Flock's Aggressive Expansions Go Far Beyond Simple Driver Surveillance." The paragraph starts with, this company's surveillance data is being used by ICE. First, as has received wide attention, this system is being used by ICE to help carry out the Trump administration's abusive removal program. Flock sells their cloud-connected cameras to police departments and private customers across the nation, pulls the license plate readings they collect into their own servers, and allows police to do nationwide searches of the resulting database, giving even the smallest town police chief access to an enormously powerful driver surveillance tool. The tech news outlet 404 Media obtained records of nationwide searches, which include a field in which officers list the purpose of their search. These records revealed that many of the searches were carried out by local officers on behalf of ICE for immigration purposes, including its notorious Enforcement and Removal Operations Division. Emails from police departments in Oregon also shed light on how local police are providing informal assistance to ICE. Mayor Knudsen, I think this article is particularly relevant in light of your comment that we will do everything we can to protect the rights of our residents. The second thing I wanted to talk about was I was at a town hall a few nights ago hosted by Eyes Off Eugene, a local organization dedicated to the removal of the flock cameras, in which a slide was shown from an Eugene Police Department training showing how flock could be used to track a cyclist, despite Chief Skinner's statement that it would not be used to do that.
Thank you, Scott. Our next speakers are Charles Arford, followed by Linda Ague.
Chuck Arford, Ward 8. Thank you, Mayor and other councilors, for your comments regarding anti-immigration activity in Eugene. We must recognize that despite the crowd, we are not all here. Members of our community have been incarcerated and deported, others have fled, and many, many more are terrified to come to a public meeting. Thank you for your decision to pause the flock cameras. The United States has more people in prison than any other country in the world. It's not even close. 1 out of every 5 prisoners in the world is incarcerated in the U.S. We are a country of mass incarceration and imprisonment. And the Trump administration wants to put more people in prison. And they're working in partnership with the Palantir Corporation to do this. Not only does Palantir operate the flock cameras, but they have our Social Security information, our medical information, our DNA, and our facial recognition. Trump recently approved Israeli-type phone spyware to be used against those who are protesting his immigration policies. This all in addition to millions of daily flock camera photos. The Palantir Corporation brags that its information has been used to bring death and destruction to America's enemies. Recently, President Trump has talked about an enemy within, radical left lunatics, a vast terrorism network. They don't wear uniforms. His press secretary referred to Democrats as terrorists. I'm not a terrorist. I don't think there's any terrorists in this room. Mostly patriots. No flock cameras. One more thing, this proposed panhandling ban, this is not about safety, it's about something else. I have lived and driven in Eugene for 35 years. While driving, I have had many close calls with unhoused people in the street. And none of them, none, had anything to do with folks panhandling on corners or intersections. They almost all had to do with people crossing the street, outside of crosswalks, many times just walking or riding a bike into flowing traffic, sometimes at night wearing dark clothing. If you want safety, ban people from crossing the street. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Our next speakers are Linda Ague, followed by Emily Ryman.
Hello, Linda Ague, Ward 4. Thanks for being here and listening. First, it's Amazon, and I just want them to go away. so bias up front. As much as I'm able to understand, the developer is asking for an indirect source pollution permit. We know that we'll be adversely affecting the air quality, but it's not our facility, it's the pollution of the trucks permit. However, the welcoming responses of nearby businesses, including the airport, are not to the pollution problem, but the traffic flow concerns. Air pollution, traffic flow, apples and oranges. What I really wish is that the reason these businesses are not addressing air pollution is because all the Amazon trucks will be electric. And to support this fleet of trucks feeding this cheap instead of local economy, Amazon will invest millions in expanding the electric charging grid for themselves and with their big, generous hearts for all of us as well. Maybe a requirement worth considering. If jobs are weighing in on the yes side of your vote, make sure you have an honest knowledge of how much AI and robotics will be employed compared to real, honest human jobs with the real cost of living and real benefits. It's the same smell of money versus the smell of good, clean air, not to mention farmland and our wetlands being destroyed. No need to say yes until you know you have the best answer for our community and for our planet. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Our next speakers are Emily Ryman, followed by Barbara Stebbins.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Emily Ryman. I'm here as the CEO of Dev Northwest. I happen to live in Ward 7, but we have recently completed, or currently under construction projects in Wards 3, 7, and 8. I'm here to encourage the City and Council to adopt and enable several sources of state funds that have recently been allocated by the legislature for affordable housing and workforce housing, but we need the city to act to be able to utilize these funds for local projects here in Eugene. We've had big wins over the last couple of years enabling these state dollars, but if the city and council don't act, we won't be able to bring them to local projects. That's Dev Northwest and that's other developers as well. Two immediate examples, Business Oregon has $10 million in grants for infrastructure that is needed to build housing. The city is needed to co-sponsor the applications with a developer. Dev Northwest has a project that we're interested in submitting for those funds, but we can't do it without city support. OHCS has even more money. They have $50 million for MERL, the Middle Income Revolving Loan Program. But in that case, council needs to adopt a resolution to enable the program here locally, and the city needs to adopt an application process for developers to apply for those funds. It's essentially a tax increment financing program where a state loan for zero interest can go into the project on the front end, and it gets paid back through the first 10 years of property taxes from the new homes that are developed. Time is of the essence. The infrastructure applications are due to Business Oregon by December 17th, so we have just a little over a month to enable that process to happen. And we need MERL to be activated by the city, not awards made, but activated by the city in the beginning of 2026, so that those of us developers who want to use it can have it as match funds when we go in for applications for state and federal funding in the 2026 funding rounds. We urge council to act quickly. We urge you to support staff in finding the capacity to enable these programs. And Dev Northwest is committed to being at the table to try to do as much of the lifting on the applications, providing model resolutions, providing model applications from other communities to try to minimize the impact on staff. But this money is really urgently needed to address the housing crisis in Eugene. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Our next speakers are Barbara Stebbins, followed by Deb McGee.
My name is Barbara Stebbins. I live in the Whitaker. I'm here to be one of probably many voices saying we hope that Eugene will reject Amazon and the Amazon warehouse project. It seems really oversized for such a lovely college town, for one thing. But there are a number of real problems with Amazon. And you know, Amazon is really a bad actor altogether. It is run by the man who is probably sometimes the second wealthiest man in the world, and sometimes the first wealthiest man in the world, has little concern for what is going on in communities like Eugene. And the warehouse that will be built is going to be huge, taking up 9 acres of I guess that will be paved. And the number of trucks, it's like, 1,400 different vehicles they will have that will be putting out like over 2,000 trips a day. And those trucks are not electric right now, so far as we understand, so it will be contributing a lot to the air pollution in our area. And the other side of it is what Eugene is going to lose, including a wetlands that was already there that will need to be filled in with a whole lot of landfill. Amazon claims they will be providing jobs for people in this area, but we know how Amazon does jobs. They're about to lay off a substantial number of people in the workforce right now to replace them with robotics and AI. So I just encourage Eugene, the city, to say no to Amazon. And I think there are other people who probably will say that as well. I also will throw my voice into getting rid of flock cameras. We shouldn't use them. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Our next speakers are Deb McGee, followed by Magda Van Leeuwen.
Good evening, Mayor Knudsen, City Manager, and City Councilors. My name is Deborah McGee, and I live in Lane County. My wife is a veteran. I'm a volunteer with 350 Eugene, and 350 Eugene submitted this letter to you last month in order to bring your attention to some of the adverse climate impacts of the proposed e-commerce distribution facility. The proposed distribution facility, located east of the airport off Highway 99, does not align with the goals of the City Climate Recovery Ordinance and the Climate Action Plan, neither in structure nor in operation of the facility. The developer's projection of 2,500 daily trips in light-duty vehicles will contribute to greenhouse gas and particulate emissions, undermining the CRO community transportation reduction goals, which remain unmet. It is our belief that a strong public statement by the city urging the developer to be a partner to help the city reach its climate goals would alleviate some public opposition. There are several measures the developer could take to achieve this. Renewable energy sourcing of the facility through rooftop solar with batteries energy solar storage system could assist in powering the facility's operation, as well as charge a fleet of electric delivery vehicles. A 320,000 square foot roof can accommodate a huge power supply and lessen the load on the grid, along with reducing energy billing costs. The project would need football fields worth of soil to infill wetland areas, which will require payments into a wetland mitigation bank. Considering the sizable amount of required wetland destruction, the payment amount should be doubled to optimize wetland preservation elsewhere. The 320,000 square foot concrete floor should be required to be low fly ash concrete. Locally sourced timber should be used with local contractors with prevailing wage requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Our next speakers are Magda Van Leeuwen, followed by Charmaine Landing.
Hi, my name is Magda Van Leeuwen. I'm a resident of Ward 2. I would also like to advocate for the removal of the flock cameras. On a personal level, I do not want my movements to be monitored. And on a bigger level, I'd be concerned about companies having my data, potential, like the federal government using the cameras to track women seeking abortions, and specifically people who may not be here without documentation. There were already 350 detentions last month, and I don't think the federal government needs any more help with that. So that is my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Magda. Our next speakers are Charmaine Landing, followed by Brooke Standifer.
Hello, and thank you, councilors. I'm Charmaine Landing. I'm a long-term resident of Eugene and currently living in Lane County. My understanding is that Amazon, although they have remained anonymous, while filing for permits, wants to build a large distribution center in the Eugene vicinity. I was curious how such a mega operation fits into the long-range planning for our area, so I read Section 9.4150, Purpose of the Clear Lake Overlay Zone, which is the area that Amazon is proposing. It's an overlay that's been developed and refined by city departments, elected officials, legal advisors, and community members, and approved by you, the city council, to become part of the city code. What the overlay says is that large lots in the Clear Lake zone will be provided as a means to, quote, ensure that future development fulfills the community's desired outcome for economic prosperity and increased employment opportunities, end quote. This plan implements policies that call for, quote, fairness, equity in achieving a healthy environment, vibrant community, and improved quality of life for surrounding neighborhoods. It ends with, future development is encouraged to build upon Eugene's competitive advantages and recognize the community's values around climate change, sustainability, local food systems, and natural resources. I was impressed with the goals of the overlay. It puts an emphasis on community values, sustainability, and prosperity. That's why I felt compelled to speak tonight, because the Amazon Distribution Center, in my research, does not meet this vision, especially regarding employment and sustainability. The employment that Amazon offers is labor intensive, so intensive that to meet their goals, Amazon will be replacing local workers in just a few years, by 2030, replaced with robots that work faster and don't need food or bathroom breaks or health care. And without dependable long-term jobs, workers can't plan for a future, which might include owning a home, supporting elders, or sending kids to college. I honestly believe Amazon will not be a good partner for Eugene or improve our quality of life in any way.
Thank you, Charmaine. Your time is concluded. Our next speakers are Brooke Standifer, followed by Ron Burley.
Hi. My name is Brooke Standifer. I am from Ward 2 in Southeast Eugene, and I serve on the board of Better Housing Together. So tonight I want to talk about an opportunity to get more middle-income housing built in Eugene. I'm going to talk about the Middle Income Revolving Loan Fund, or MERL. I know you heard from Emily a minute ago. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, hopefully give you some other information so you're not hearing the same thing. You've already made huge housing strides this year, and the MERL program really builds on that success by serving households in the 80 to 120% AMI range. That's our teachers, our nurses, our tradespeople who earn solid wages but are being priced out as the median home price tops $450,000 in Eugene. So I know we're all hearing a lot of acronyms tonight, or at least I'm hearing some new ones. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about MERL. The state has set up a MERL, so the Middle Income Revolving Loan Fund, and that was created through Senate Bill 1537 in 2024. So that revolving loan fund, that's a proven concept in Eugene. We've been doing it in Eugene for small businesses, and we can apply that same successful model to housing. So the state has set aside $75 million for the MERL program. That's $50 million in the first 2 years and $25 million after that, through Oregon Housing and Community Services, or OHCS. And cities like Eugene can borrow from that pool at zero interest, like Emily said, and use those dollars to help private or nonprofit developers close the gap on projects that otherwise wouldn't pencil. As those loans are repaid, the funds go right back into the pot, ready to support the next wave of houses. That's the revolving part. Over the past few months, Better Housing Together has done the groundwork. We've met with the county assessor, city staff, OHCS, and others, and we've drafted an application and a sample resolution based on the MUPD framework so the city can move quickly. So this program is ready for council direction. We also recognize staff's thoughtful concerns about risk and capacity. That's why Better Housing Together is working with local banks and credit unions and the Eugene Chamber of Commerce to identify ways to reduce risk and minimize the administrative burden. So in closing, this is a state-funded, zero-interest loan, and it's really an opportunity for Eugene to be a leader in this space. Only 2 other cities in Oregon have taken advantage of MERL so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. Our next speakers are Ron Burley, followed by Sarah Boom.
Mayor Knudsen, councilors, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Ron Burley, and I live in North Eugene, specifically in the Maxwell Road area near North Eugene High School, very close to the new mega warehouse and hub that Amazon is proposing. I have several concerns about this facility, but I want to focus on one main issue, which is the placement of the new Amazon hub on the north side of Aubrey Lane, adjacent to Northwest Expressway. And it indicates a greatly increased burden on one of the most congested byways in Lane County, the Rande-Pape Pipeline. The Beltline Highway is our neighborhood's most direct route to Riverbend Hospital, the only emergency medical facility in our two cities. The next closest crossing of the Willamette River is at Jefferson Street, which adds approximately 12 minutes to the trip. But you already know that. The Oregon Department of Transportation's River Road to Delta Highway Improvement Plans, completed and distributed on August 21st, 2025, and referenced in the developer's own proposal, the ODOT analysis makes clear that the Beltline Highway already handles a traffic burden well in excess of its 1960s design limit, and that traffic along that critical corridor would be severely and negatively affected by this project without substantial traffic and infrastructure improvements. However, that's just the planning aspect. That leads to an obvious question. How can it be that the Amazon Hub project is breaking ground next month and scheduled to go online in January of 2027, just 14 months from now, that planning and funding and researching is going to take 7 to 10 years, according to ODOT? If this goes on with infrastructure inadequate to support such a facility, it will severely impact the quality of life, mobility, health, and safety of the Northwest Eugene community. Therefore, I strongly urge you to halt any further progress on this project until the numerous quality of life and transportation infrastructure issues are addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. Our next speakers are Sarah Boom, followed by Jeffrey Gordon.
Hi, my name is Sarah Boom, and I live in Ward 7. As you're probably aware, the federal government is currently shut down. SNAP recipients in many other states still haven't gotten paid, and the Oregon state government is out the benefits money they paid until the regime sees fit to make them whole again. Governor Kotek has declared a food emergency to enable her to allocate funds to various hunger relief organizations. Meanwhile, my hometown of Hillsborough has declared a different kind of emergency. They are allocating funds to try to relieve the harms committed by immigration enforcement stormtroopers. I encourage you to do the same, but don't stop where they did. Use the emergency powers to direct local law enforcement to get in the way of ICE directly. The federal government has chosen to undermine the state of Oregon's as well as Eugene's authority to feed our own people as well as enforce our own laws. They fund their lawless troublemakers while starving our hardworking people. It's only fair that we use our resources to waste theirs in turn. Trump's emergencies let him send his jackbooted thugs into our homes and tariff our goods. He follows in the path of regimes that had declared emergency powers before seizing total fascist control of the state. I'd say that threat is enough of an emergency to deploy your own power and put local law enforcement on the case to detain or even arrest ICE criminals who kidnap our neighbors and destroy our property. I trust you a lot more than him, and I hope you can find the courage to trust yourselves too. Feed people, block ICE. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Our next speakers are Jeffrey Gordon, followed by Misty Bowman.
Thank you, City Council, for the opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City staff. I'm Dr. Jeffrey Gordon from Ward 7. Thank you on the levels. First, let me offer my congratulations to Mayor Mamdani on behalf of the City of Eugene for his recent victory. And congratulations to Curtis Sliwa for his second place victory. He had such kind words to say about our city during his campaign, and I want to return the appreciation. I like cats too. So, moving on to business. To our city manager, please cancel the flock contract before you retire. To City Council, no panhandling ban. That is cruel. And please use zoning changes or other legal means to prevent the massive Amazon super warehouse from being built. And press forward with contract negotiation with Willamette Valley Crisis Care as quickly as you possibly can. We need them yesterday. And finally, use your powers to motivate law enforcement to detain or arrest ICE criminals. I agree with that last speaker. The last thing I have to say, I guess I left. Well, to the officers in the room that are still in the room or that might hear me, I'd ask, what is the EPD going to do to protect the potential victims of ICE and DHS from violence and due process violations? What have you actually done so far? How do you feel policing the protesters outside the federal building who are standing there to demand the rule of law? And finally, I'd ask, when can we see you all out there? Thank you. Free Palestine.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Our next speakers are Misty Bowman, followed by Sam Edwards.
Good evening. My name is Misty Bowman. I live in Ward 7. I'm a Dark Sky Oregon advocate, a member of Eugene Friends of the Night Sky, and I'm here to discuss light pollution. Let me quote from my second favorite song from Moana, Shiny. Fish are dumb, dumb, dumb. They chase anything that glitters. Beginners. Unfortunately, human beings are also dumb, dumb, dumb. We too have a tendency to chase anything that glitters. In other words, human beings, like fish, like most flora and fauna on this planet, have a positive phototaxis. We are naturally, instinctively attracted to light. Councillor Keating, I remember a while back you mentioned how digital billboards are a distraction and danger to drivers. For the exact same reason digital billboards are dangerous, unshielded luminaires are dangerous, distracting to drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians in this community. I would like to once again talk about specific lights that need to be replaced, and that's the three-pronged fishbowl lights in downtown. During the day, they get dirty and become unsightly. At night, they waste more than 60% of the lighting they emit, and being unshielded cause glare and light clutter that is distracting and disorienting. Our downtown deserves targeted, softer, safer, more inviting lighting at night. Lights that don't waste money, lights that don't inhibit night vision, lights that aren't bad for the environment, lights that don't affect the community's sleep cycle. I once again ask the City Council to revise and make a plan to enforce the outdoor lighting ordinance guided by Dark Sky International's 5 principles of responsible outdoor lighting. Remove the flock cameras and say no to Amazon. Free Palestine. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Misty. Our next speakers are Sam Edwards, followed by Wynn Mansell.
Gentlemen, good evening. I continue to be Sam, and I continue to speak on flock. First, a bit of good news. The pause on the flock cameras does seem to be holding. We can tell because an active flock camera at night has a motion-activated infrared camera flash that, though invisible to the human eye, can be picked up by many smartphone cameras. And I share this information in hopes that everyone in this chamber tonight will join me in keeping tabs and ensuring that pause remains in effect. Unfortunately, a pause is not a stop, and the cameras remain up on the poles. And that is unfortunate because they are pretty offensive to see and pretty embarrassing to our visitors as well. And so I'm here tonight to urge the city manager to move with haste before retiring and get that contract where it belongs, the paper shredder. I believe if we can do that quickly, Eugene can stand shoulder to shoulder with other cities across the nation that have been alerted to the abuses of flock and worked quickly to protect their communities and set the standard for the nation to follow. But that is an ever-growing list, and I think if we sleep on this, we may only be remembered for our initial mistake and not our swift corrective action. I get it. We have to dot and cross the I's and T's. So by all means, please dig deep. We are not afraid of the truth. We are not afraid of the facts. The Flock Corporation is. So dig as deep as you need, but please dig kind of fast. That's all I have to say on that. Please keep Bezos out of Eugene. Everyone here, please get home safe tonight. Your families need you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Our next speakers are Wynn Mansell, followed by Darcy Phillips.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors, staff. My name is Wynn Mansell. I'm a resident of Ward 7, and hard to follow that, but I'm also speaking out. Please cancel the flock contract immediately, if you can, as soon as possible. Again, dotting I's, crossing T's, probably dotting K's as well, but good to get it done. One thing that specifically comes to mind is the recent report from Springfield that they released on the 8th, that on the 7th, a camera that, for whatever reason, was missed being removed from automatic updates or automatic tracking was reactivated with As far as I was able to discern from the document, without any notification to Springfield, the city, especially considering that Springfield had not turned on their cameras in the first place, that gives me concern that at some point, someone, it could be anyone from here, could be someone from Flock, could activate a camera and cause it to begin sending push notifications, even though everyone involved has said, we are turning off the cameras. That to me says that Flock is very much a bad actor and someone that we, as a city, really should not be doing business with. I guess I'm also not really a fan of the Amazon thing, and I will say I think our experiences with Flock should be a lesson to all of us to negotiate more strongly. Everything I have heard about the contract that was signed with Flock seems very one-sided in terms of Flock. Flock gets everything, we get very little as a city, and we should walk away from that with a lesson of when it comes to Amazon, they want our land, we want a sustainable community, and we should take our bargaining position to, if we can't get them to not build here, to make the best possible community for us out of the situation. Also, everything about, using our powers to defend our citizens from ICE, really good idea. And for Misty, phototaxis, word of the day. All right, thank you, bye.
Thank you, Wynn. Our next speakers are Darcy Phillips, followed by Shelley Devine.
Good evening, Mayor Knutson and City Council members. I want to start by thanking Councilor Evans for the apology at the beginning. That really means a lot to me and to Cornerstone, to my board and my staff, so thank you for that. Cornerstone Community Housing acknowledges the importance of fair labor standards and ethical contracting. We share these values and have upheld them throughout our long history serving Lane County. For more than 30 years, Cornerstone has provided affordable housing and supportive services that help individuals and families build stability and thrive. Our mission is rooted in a belief that strong ethical practices, both in our housing operations and our business relations, are essential to creating lasting community impact. Cornerstone has never been found to participate in wage theft, tax fraud, or any labor violations, and we hold all contractors and subcontractors accountable to the same high standards. We believe that affordable housing should not come at the expense of fair wages or ethical treatment of workers. The people who build and maintain our communities deserve the same respect and protections as the residents that we serve. We're deeply committed to equitable contracting. On every development, Cornerstone prioritizes minority, women-owned, and emerging small businesses, as well as Section 3 contractors. Under federal and Oregon housing programs, Section 3 requires that recipients of certain public housing and community development funds ensure that economic opportunities, jobs, training, and contracting are directed to low and very low-income residents and to businesses that employ or are owned by them. In Oregon's affordable housing sector, this means partnering with contractors to create local employment and economic benefits for people with lower incomes who are most affected by housing instability. These efforts are more than a requirement. They reflect our values. By ensuring the public investment in affordable housing also supports local and underrepresented contractors, we help strengthen the economic fabric of Lane County. This creates pathways for smaller and diverse businesses to grow, builds community wealth, and ensures the benefits of development are shared more broadly across our region. Thank you for your continued support for Cornerstone and for the LRPD application.
Thank you, Darcy. Our next speakers are Shelley Devine, followed by Mario Conte.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name's Shelley Devine. I'm a homeowner in South University neighborhood, and my son started at South Eugene High School this fall. He walks there every day. I'm a longtime volunteer at the Oregon Country Fair, and we love living in Eugene. Our federal government is an asinine kakistocracy clown show of cruelty run and owned by corporate greed and oligarchs. Please do not subject us to their interests or their tactics. So this is a flock no to Amazon. The morals and ethics of Amazon are incongruent with what our city espouses to stand for, which makes us fundamentally not a match. Please do not consider allowing a global abuser to set up shop in Eugene. Amazon and everything it represents is the antithesis of who we strive to be in the world. This is an easy no. Amazon is not inevitable. The endorsement and allowance of this company is a choice. Don't make Eugene a pillar of support for fascist oligarchs like Jeff Bezos. Amazon actively harms people and the planet. They just laid off 30,000 employees, and many of their former warehouses are now being designated for mass incarceration, and on it goes. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Shelley. Our next speakers are Mario Conte, followed by Sue Barnhart.
Good evening, Mayor Knutson and council members. My name is Mario Conte. I live in Ward 3, and I'm here speaking as a board member on behalf of Cornerstone Community Housing. Cornerstone Community Housing has always been committed to ensuring that everyone involved in our projects is treated fairly and compensated appropriately for their work. The general contractors we partner with maintain a workforce comparable to other contractors across the state, with wages set by the market and in accordance with the law. At the same time, applying prevailing wage requirements to the Lucy, a pending project of Cornerstone's here in Eugene, and to affordable housing projects more broadly, would make developments like ours financially infeasible. It would make them impossible. To put this in perspective, the 20-year LRPD associated with the Lucy delivers approximately $1.8 million in tax value over the full term. By contrast, requiring prevailing wages on construction would increase costs by roughly $3 million, exceeding the full value of the exemption. In practical terms, this extra cost would push the project past the break-even point, the financing structure would fail, and the project simply could not move forward. That would result in the loss of 36 affordable housing units here in Eugene, along with a full range of community benefits that Cornerstone provides, including local employment opportunities, on-site resident services, and strengthened neighborhood stability. The state of Oregon has explicitly exempted affordable housing from prevailing wage requirements to ensure that projects like the Lucy remain financially viable and can move forward to meet urgent community housing needs. Many of Cornerstone's existing properties are now reaching the point where their LRPD must be renewed. If prevailing wages were required as a condition of approval of that LRPD, it would significantly increase costs for basic maintenance and repairs, work that is currently done efficiently and in-house by our skilled maintenance team. Preserving the current structure of the exemption is therefore essential for continued growth and preservation of affordable housing in our community. We urge council to continue its support for Cornerstone and the LRPD so that affordable housing projects like the Lucy can continue to provide homes, stability, and opportunities for our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Our next speakers are Sue Barnhart, followed by Andrea Voorhees.
Hi, I'm Sue Barnhart, and I'm in Ward 7. I wanted to thank you all for your service and for listening to all of us. Please do the right thing. Be kind. Do what's best for all of us. Thank you for those of you who have stood up against the detaining and terrorizing of our neighbors. Please join your fellow councilors and the mayor. Speak up against this. Stop ICE. Stop Flock. Stop Amazon. Fund a Cahoots-like program as soon as possible. Fund housing. Fund shelters. Fund food. Don't make a panhandling ban. It's ridiculous. People are hungry. People need to be fed. Don't harass neighbors who are feeding neighbors in Jefferson Park. And please don't lock up the little neighborhood park in my neighborhood. I don't even know if you know this, but the plan is to lock up a park at night. It's ridiculous. It's been heartbreaking already that they took out all of the benches and picnic tables out of the park. Then they have a porta potty that's locked almost all the time. And now they're gonna lock up my little neighborhood park at night? Please, do the right thing. Stop these kind of ridiculous things happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Our next speakers are Andrea Voorhees, followed by Danny Patch.
Good evening, Mayor Knudsen and City Council members. My name is Andrea Voorhees. I live at 1175 Charlton, Eugene, and I'm here proudly speaking as a board member on behalf of Cornerstone Community Housing. I've been a board member since 2019. City Council's past support of the Low-Income Rental Housing Property Tax Exemption, or LRPT, and of Cornerstone Community Housing has been invaluable in creating and sustaining affordable housing in Eugene. By reducing property tax burdens for developments like our upcoming projects, the Lucy, LRPT helps ensure these projects remain financially viable while also delivering important community benefits, including local jobs, resident services, and long-term neighborhood stability. Cornerstone Community Housing has been serving Lane County for over 30 years, providing stable, affordable homes while supporting residents through comprehensive programs that promote self-sufficiency and well-being. In addition to developing affordable housing, our robust resident services program supports families and individuals across our community. Our programs include food and nutrition, youth development, community building, health and wellness, and financial well-being. These services are designed to complement our housing, ensuring that residents not only have a safe place to live, but also access to the resources they need to thrive. Through October of this year, Cornerstone has provided $420,000 in rental assistance supporting not only Cornerstone residents, but also low-income households throughout the broader community. This assistance has been vital in helping individuals and families remain stably housed during a time of ongoing financial strain. In addition to rental assistance, we run dental clinics, homework helpers for kids, and every year we deliver over 100,000 pounds of food to low-income residents and operate our own on-site food pantry at one of our housing communities. These programs are central to our mission, building on the foundation of stable, affordable housing. They ensure that residents not only have a place to live, but also access to the support, stability, and opportunities needed to thrive in every aspect of life. By combining affordable housing with these essential resident services, Cornerstone ensures that our developments truly strengthen communities for the long term. As its City Council, you can be proud, just as I am, that your commitment to LRPT makes these tremendous outcomes possible. Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you, Andrea. Our next speakers are Danny Patch, followed by Teresa Mueller.
Why is everyone so angry with you? All summer long, we had to fight you. All fall, we're fighting you. We're going into the winter. You seem to have a real problem with doing things that people appreciate. We got a dumpster fire city manager who allowed these cameras to be put up. And why are they still up? Get something done. Take them down. Issue solved. Get it done. We have a traffic problem in this city that is disgusting. It's way beyond our population. And you are trying to add this giant mega Amazon thing to Beltline. I want to remind you that an accident on Beltline is usually fatal. And you go down Beltline anywhere from 3 o'clock to about 6 o'clock, and you try to add an ambulance to that zone, and you see what happens. You try, now you're choking us off over by campus on Broadway, and I mean, it's just disgusting. I drive for a living. Try to go north and south in this town. It's insane. And you want to know why people don't go downtown? It's because it's mental chaos to drive downtown. And you've created this, your decades of car hating and adding a bike lane and a curb or a projection or to every single intersection there is. It's insane. You're literally telling us what your mind is. You're mentally not capable of anything that makes sense. And why are these people here every week? Why don't you start doing something for us instead of sitting there in your silence? Madam Mayor, I'd like you to explain to us why we still have these dang cameras up and why they're not removed. And I want you to show us how we're going to deal with all this traffic from this one single rich man who's going to employ very few people. And I want to remind you, most airports have infrastructure around them, and ours isn't very developed yet, but someday it might be. But if you eat up all the land and give it to some bozo, there's no place to put the hotels, the gas stations, the rental car spots, the things that normally go around an airport. Start thinking in the future and get rid of the dang cameras. What's wrong with you?
Thank you, Danny. Our next speakers are Teresa Mueller, followed by David Eigel.
Hi, thanks for taking comments tonight. I want to second all the comments, all the downsides I've heard about the Amazon warehouse, which we think it is. I know that Eugene really needs jobs, so I tried originally to be open-minded about it, but when I do research, I see Amazon's labor track record is very grim. I did research showing that many different towns and cities around the country have found ways to discourage and ultimately block Amazon's overtures. I ask you as our policy shapers to follow that lead. In a slight different bit of research, I looked at the City of Eugene's Equity Atlas online. I really recommend it to everybody. It's a really neat resource telling a difficult story. It's described as documenting, quote, how historic land use decisions have shaped today's patterns of land use. Given the valley's outstanding rivers, soil, wetlands, farms, orchards, and much older nature-centered uses by our Aboriginal people, I hope you'll one day create an environmental version of this atlas as well. However, welcoming a ruthless corporate entity with no moral compass and no connection to the quirks and qualities of Eugene may well become a tragic note in such an ecological atlas. Please look beyond all the minimal permit checklists and the legalities that I've been looking at that will, and to consider what the city, what will serve the city in the long term. Maybe our new city manager should be assigned to research what sorts of businesses, collectives, cooperatives would best suit the land and the people here. Seeking out and attracting quality, sustainable businesses would be a great use of public time and money. Lastly, I have an online petition posted on change.org. I hope other people will sign it, and would like to give you the text and the list of the current signers in opposition, all of them, to this supposedly anonymous warehouse and transportation depot in West Eugene.
Thank you, Teresa. Our next speakers are David Eigel, followed by Hannah Diebert.
David Eigel, Ward 1. Our community's heritage has been misrepresented by institutions including the U of O, the City of Eugene, and Lane County. Mr. Lowe's, who was hired to be the new executive director at the Lane County History Museum in February, is no longer employed there. There remains an abomination on display in the museum, specifically the statement that, quote, the MIMS could not purchase the properties on their own because of the exclusionary laws that existed in Oregon at the time in the City of Eugene. Black citizens were not permitted to own property until Oregon passed its Fair Housing Act in 1957. This statement is sick dystopian fantasy, not documented history. Even the rancid Racing to Change exhibit that was put on during Jennifer Ye's failed tenure as a museum executive director displayed Wiley Griffin's deed to the residence he had owned for years when he died in Eugene in 1913. Prior to his death, Mr. Griffin appeared in the press numerous times, including on an occasion years before his death, thanking the community for coming to, he was a bachelor, they came and took care of him when he was sick. He also, in the year before his death, said, there's no place I'd rather live than Eugene, Oregon. The museum also failed to inform the public about the mountain of bigoted misinformation that was included in the earlier Racing to Change exhibit. I'm asking that each of you and members of the public contact the museum director and board of directors to insist that new displays be put up and that information be included on the museum website, including the past misinformation that was presented by the museum. Mr. Evans, why don't you apologize for helping Michael Scheel smear the reputation of Professor Frederick Dunn, probably the finest human being ever born and raised in the city of Eugene? How about it, Mr. Evans? You know what I'm saying is true, don't you? Thank you.
Thank you, David. Our next speakers are Hannah Daybert, followed by Stan Taylor.
Hi. A little bit nerve-wracking up here. My name's Hannah, and I'm currently a neuroscience student at the University of Oregon, residing in Ward 3. And I'm here to say, like many of my other peers, to do anything in your power to prevent the Amazon warehouse being built in Eugene. And I know that the impulse may be to say that the City Council does not have power over this process, but I cannot think of anyone else better to ask than you guys. And I ask on behalf of my postman, who I've seen disheartened that he will soon lose his job that he thought he would retire in. I ask on behalf of the warehouse workers at Amazon who face horrible working conditions and twice as many severe workplace injuries as the industry average. I ask for myself, and I ask for you, and I ask for everyone else in Eugene and all working people everywhere to stand up to billionaires who do not care at all about us. I ask you to stand up in the way of expansion of Amazon and stand up for local businesses. Let's make an example of Eugene by standing up to the mega corporations and following the footsteps of those who have before us. I also endorse the removal of the flock cameras and termination of the contract. We cannot say we support immigrants while employing technology used by ICE. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Our next speakers are Stan Taylor, followed by Joella Ewing.
My name's Stan Taylor. I'm in Ward 1, and I'm also with Indivisible Eugene Springfield. And part of what you're seeing tonight is a campaign to keep Amazon out of Eugene. There's been a lot said, but what I want to say is I'm disturbed by the process that got us to the point that we're at. I know there's a lot of problems with the way a city manager-council relationship can work, but this is a good example of the big gap that needs to be addressed. So we have a permit that's requested from the permit department. But part of that permit that's requested includes plans that are submitted by an architect that signed a non-disclosure agreement. It includes a broker who also signed a non-disclosure agreement. As far as I know, we haven't officially heard from the city that it's Amazon that's coming into town, yet they're talking about breaking ground next month. This is a big problem. And there's been no opportunity really for public input at the front end. The permit requirements require that the neighborhood association be notified, but there is no neighborhood association operating in that neighborhood. It requires them to put signs on the roads for traffic to see that the property is going to be developed. But the signs that were put out to give public notice were put on side roads, not on 99. So what we're seeing is a huge gap between the process of a permit being required and the notice to public to be able to actually weigh in, not at the back end, but at the front end. And it seems to me with issues like Flock or issues like a organization, a business like Amazon, that it ought to be obvious to people in the city that when these issues come up, they're important enough to require you to weigh in on it at the front end, not the back end. So I'm asking you, now that we're at the back end, move us back to the front end.
Thank you, Stan. Our next speakers are Joella Ewing, followed by Liam O'Grady.
Hello, my name is Joella Ewing, and I live in the College Hill neighborhood. I'm here to speak against Amazon. Did you know that Amazon is a prime driver of ICE's deportation actions? By providing ICE with data storage services, Amazon has helped expand the growth of ICE's surveillance data accumulation, arrest, imprisonment, and deportation of immigrants. ICE can't do the job without the infrastructure that Amazon provides them. Did you know that Amazon is complicit in Israeli genocide in Gaza with a $1.2 billion contract called Project Nimbus to provide cloud technology to the Israeli government and military? Amazon has promised warehouse jobs will soon be replaced by AI robotics. Amazon continues to automate its warehouse with humanoid AI robotics. They are also going to be eliminating driver jobs that will be phased out. Amazon is anti-union and violates workers' rights to breaks, safety, and reasonable work hours. Amazon workers are under surveillance and pressured to meet huge quotas, risking physical and mental harm. As Amazon continues to expand more of its economy, it's driving trend that's undermining working people in the community. Amazon has a poor climate record. It sells services to fossil fuel companies, supports new nuclear power plants, destroys returned products rather than finding another use for them, and consumes vast amounts.
Thank you, Joella. Your time is concluded. Our next speakers are Liam O'Grady, followed by Andrew Simrin.
Mayor, thank you, Council. My name is Liam O'Grady. I'm in the Conestoga Hut Villages with community supported shelters. I have a piece here that says, a picture's worth 1,000 words, but a kind word at a moment's notice is ever worth 1,000 good pictures. Thus, opportunity. An event this spring to invent for upcoming spring, where the reunion of the two for so long apart, lost in the illusion of separation, will gloriously come together in harmonious union, a relationship worthy of honor, that in a sense symbolizes the end of oppression, such as selfish greed and pride, cruelty, unjust treatment and control, jealousy, envy, and abuse and neglect. Yes, welcome the marriage of the rich and the poor. As they're overcoming, the obstacles in the way of their togetherness helped us to see beyond our false definition of value, where we're not defined by the dollar, but rather ever defining it. So may our experience of such celebration be shared by any and all interested in witnessing the poorest and the wealthiest having a happy moment, ever remembered forever in our hearts as we made up a dance to their music of choice. But who will support the band? And what do the bride and groom even look like? Well, do you need to bake a cake? Well, yes to their union. Being that we are enough, we're all worthy, regardless of what they say. Priceless at that. Regardless of what we do, we are loved for who we are. In a direct approach towards healing the divide, long live the relationship that promotes economic health, ending the separation in victory, in reality, with plenty enough for all to share. Aho. A second piece. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Our next speakers are Andrew Simrin, followed by Anna Lardner.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. My name is Andrew Simrin. I reside in the River Road neighborhood. I'm here today to see that the flock camera contract is canceled prior to the city manager departing. As part of this process, I've learned about more, and I think many people here have learned about how our local government works here with the city council and manager, and how the manager executes the policy of the city. And I see that how that important that position is. And with that in mind, I'd like to ensure that the council keeps in mind the climate recovery ordinance and the CAP 2.0 plan for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. It's something that's very important, and something that is important that should be important for the council when considering a new city manager, and finding a city manager that is able to follow through with meeting some of those climate recovery ordinance goals and CAP 2.0 plans, and follow through with those, since the reporting lately has shown that we're falling behind on a lot of our recovery needs. Yeah, I think that's what I have to say today, to give more time to those who are here. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Our next speakers are Anna Lardner, followed by Tiffany Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council people. My name is Anna. I'm an organizer with Trans Alliance of Lane County, and also an organizer for immigrant rights and defense. First, to the issue of flock, turn the cameras off. It's the wrong time, it's the wrong company, and it's the wrong technology for this moment. Second, to Amazon. Early in this session, Mayor Knudsen gave a beautiful reflection on small businesses in Eugene. This is echoed in the plan, Envision Eugene, which I know all of you are familiar with, which talks about all of the industrial sectors that you wanted to bring to our community. Amazon's warehouse does not meet any of those definitions. The good news is there's a way in the city code for you to amend this. You could initiate a Type 5 amendment process to amend the city code to close the current loopholes that allow for Amazon to do warehousing and wholesaling out of those parcels. This is something I know you can do, and we ask you to do this as part of resisting Amazon's incursion into our community. The third thing I want to talk about on this topic of incursion into communities is ICE. There is only so much some of you may be able to do to stop the federal occupation of our state, our community, and of our neighborhoods. One thing that all of you can do is come to the federal building when invited by our immigrant defenders and the community members and the lawyers who are out there every day trying to defend those vulnerable people who are brought into that building. The ICE field office in Eugene between January 20th and late July of this year detained 99 people. A third of those people had a previous criminal conviction, but 2/3 did not. 2/3 had no criminal history. Their only charge was unauthorized entry into America. Of those people who had criminal convictions, fewer than half had violent criminal convictions. The Trump administration has lied about what ICE is doing. Its sole purpose is an ethnic cleansing of our Black and brown people in this community. You all can come to the building when invited and stand in solidarity with the protesters, the rapid responders, the accompaniers, and the lawyers who are trying every day to stop this deportation machine. So please, when those invitations come, please come down there. I know some of you have, and I encourage the rest of you to do so.
Thank you, Anna. Our next speakers are Tiffany Edwards, followed by Jeff Salata.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, councilors, and City Manager. My name is Tiffany Edwards, and I'm here tonight speaking as a board member for Better Housing Together, a nonprofit coalition advocating for housing affordability, supply, and choice. First, I want to express deep gratitude to each of you for your service to this community and providing these opportunities away from your families to hear from community members. And while there's a good showing of people here tonight, I know that there are many thousands of others who can't always be here and you don't always hear from. Thank you, Council, for your approval of the LURPT for the Lucy, a new cornerstone development. This decision directly supports the creation of homes that will make a tangible difference for many families and individuals. Cornerstone is an incredible asset to have in our community. For more than 30 years, they've provided safe, affordable homes and wraparound services that help hundreds of families, seniors, and community members each year find stability, build skills, and thrive. Their work changes lives, and your LURPD approval helps make more of that possible, so thank you. Second, I'd like to encourage you to keep in that same spirit of partnership and action as you consider implementing the Middle Income Revolving Loan Fund, or MERL, here in Eugene. The legislature allocated $75 million statewide for this program in 2024, administered through OHCS. And to participate, Eugene would simply need to adopt the local ordinance or resolution and coordinate with your county assessor. If we want to see certain outcomes, we need to make things easier to do than anything else. So if we want to see more housing in our downtown, more housing that's affordable, or more housing choices across Eugene, we have to make it as easy as possible for builders and developers to choose to invest here. Tools like the MUPD, LURPD, and the MERL are among the few levers that the city can control. These are practical, ready-to-go solutions that send a strong message that Eugene welcomes and values those who help create the homes our residents desperately need. Thank you for your leadership and for continuing to make housing at all income levels a top priority for this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Our next speakers are Jeff Salata, followed by Dylan Cianci.
Good evening to you all. Jeff Salata, Ward 1. Firstly, end the flock contract. With the same expediency you would employ if you're running out of a house on fire. Because this is not a drill, this is a five-alarm fire of civil and privacy rights violations. It's well-documented, pervasive, and persistent. It's the only way to protect the citizens of Eugene, period. Secondly, the city stakes its right to surveil all of us in the public context wherein the flock cameras operate. If this argument held any weight, then why was my public record request for flock data on my own car denied? Sure, the Lexipol written policy that the EPD employs says that LEDs or LEDS info may be present. Well, then redact it. If the justification for this mass surveillance is that we're all in the public domain, then why, when I asked the Public Records Department to see the public pictures of my own car in public, is denied? In fact, a judge in Washington recently struck down the lawsuits of 2 Washington cities against an Oregon resident seeking the very information that I did. That judge found it was illegal to withhold that information, and it will be found illegal here. Just give it time. Finally, why are the flock cameras being repositioned? I have personally observed and documented the removal and the installation of at least 2 different locations of flock cameras. And it was just, the reason I bring that up is because if they're indeed off, and the current moment of inertia is that the cancellation of this contract is imminent, what's going on? Why are the cameras moving around? If it holds that the cameras need to be turned on to be calibrated after installation to ensure that they work properly, how is this possible after you, the city council, unanimously forbade their activation and use? A part of that use, I would assume, would be the repositioning of said cameras. Also, why is the EPD still performing searches on flock data? What value could data that's a month or older really have for them? No public.
Thank you, Jeff. Our next speakers are Dylan Cianci, followed by Kelly Christensen.
This is sort of a celebrity moment for me. I've been watching you guys on Zoom for months. You're all much cuter in person. And you are the first person to actually pronounce my last name correctly. I've been doing stand-up comedy for 5 years. You're an amazing mayor. Great job, guys. So I come to talk to you as a neighbor. I live in Mr. Allen's neighborhood. I love living in the university neighborhood. I work at the college. I wash dishes for freshmen, and I love my job. But I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to stay in the neighborhood that I love in going forward. When I moved there in 2019, my apartment was about $650, and it's about $900 now over the last 6 years. But over that same time, I went from making $15 an hour to making $20 an hour. And so the math just isn't covering. But the problem is that I've been getting better and better at my job. You know, I have a lot more responsibilities, I've been getting certifications, but I've been working to go up by 25% while my building has just been there and it's a cool place and it's gone up by almost 50% if I'm doing that math correctly. And I'm coming to you because I'm running out of ideas. I think that I'm part of what makes that neighborhood so good. You know, when the ice storm happened a couple of years back, I was one of the only people who was able to make it to work on time. I make a lot of sacrifices. You know, I don't own a car. I don't have any sort of streaming services, and still half of my income goes towards my rent, so that I can be there to like provide the service for the students who like keep this economy going. And I'm confused. I have a cousin who moved to town, and I worry that I come from a stupid family, because here's the situation that's going on. He lives about 2 blocks away from me, and he is paying $1,400 a month, right? But he's paying a little more because he has a furnished apartment. But he doesn't want the furniture. So he's paying more money to go to a storage unit across the street to put the furniture that he's paying for that he doesn't want in. And it's because these new buildings that are going up, I don't feel like they're being built to like just make money. They're not real community places. You don't even have storage for if someone doesn't want the furniture. The laundry facilities aren't good. I love my neighborhood. I want to see it be good. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dylan. Our next speakers are Kelly Christensen, followed by Ruth Wren.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Kelly Christensen. I live in Ward 8. It can feel inevitable that a company like Amazon is allowed to set up a distribution center in our community. And look, LRAPA provided the rubber stamp because that's what that agency has been designed to do. And who are we to stand in the way of progress, in the way of a situation that has only ever been presented as inevitable? But this is not inevitable. We are the builders of our community. We can choose to support our local businesses, as you so eloquently said that we should do at the end of this month. Or we can choose to support a company that makes false promises to create jobs while actually planning to eliminate those jobs in favor of robots in a few short years. We can choose to protect our environment for the next 7 generations, or we can allow Amazon to cause a massive increase in emissions for the purpose of moving cheap junk that nobody needs, largely manufactured in sweatshops on the other side of the world. Will we allow them to build a data center here next to raise our electric bills and run our water dry? We can choose the democratic tradition of our nation, like we are doing this evening, or we can choose to support a company whose founder has openly and actively supported tyranny. We are the authors of this story. We have agency. You have agency. We are writing the future of this community, not them. And I would urge you to say no to Amazon, no to Flock. They are connected. These are all connected companies. They want to control us and our neighbors. Please say no.
Thank you, Kelly. Our next speakers are Ruth Wren, followed by Rick Osgood.
My name is Ruth Wren. I live in Ward 1. Thank you for listening to all of us. Amazon is quietly pushing to build a mega warehouse in Eugene, a strategy they've used in many cities to avoid scrutiny and public pushback. Many people in Eugene have expressed concern about increased traffic, air pollution, undermining our local economy, overuse of electricity and water in their partnership with the Trump regime. The public has a right to be informed about a project of this magnitude, which will impose Amazon's daily presence on our streets, economy, and quality of life. Yet we have not been well informed and have not had ways to respond. Amazon presents itself as a benign customer fulfillment company, but in reality, it's in collusion with Trump's authoritarian regime, providing tech infrastructure through Amazon Web Services for the mass deportation machine that targets immigrants, trans people, Muslims, people of color, activists, and others. And Amazon provides cloud technology to the Israeli government for its genocide in Gaza. Is this the neighbor we want to invite into our city? Why are city officials being so passive in letting Amazon push its way into Eugene? Why has Amazon kept this so quiet, demanding NDAs from the real estate broker? And why has the public not been actively informed with opportunities to respond and be heard? Is it the expectation of good jobs? Amazon has a vehement anti-union stance and plans to replace 75% of their workers with AI robotics by 2030. Is it the hope that Amazon will boost the local economy? This will have the opposite effect, as Amazon undermines local businesses. Would Amazon pay their fair share of taxes? They have a clear history of tax avoidance. I see no advantages to allowing Amazon into Eugene, only disadvantages. Instead of inviting Amazon into Eugene, I believe we should boycott them permanently. I'm submitting some information sheets explaining all the issues I've cited.
Thank you, Ruth. Our next speakers are Rick Osgood, followed by Brendan McCarthy.
My name is Rick Osgood. I live in North Eugene. Please don't allow Amazon to build a distribution center here in Eugene. It may seem worthwhile because it'll bring new jobs to the area, but unfortunately, many of these jobs are likely to be low-paid, high-turnover positions, for example, delivery drivers. Amazon doesn't even hire drivers directly. Instead, they use what they call the delivery service partners, or DSPs. The idea with the DSP is that someone else starts their own delivery business and assumes the risk that goes along with that, and then Amazon hires the DSP to deliver packages on its behalf. As a DSP owner, you're completely reliant on Amazon for everything. They're literally your only customer. So if Amazon cancels your contract, you're done. Your entire business is tailored specifically to Amazon, and this means Amazon can transfer risk to the DSP while maintaining enormous leverage over them. If Amazon demands something of a DSP, the DSP can either oblige or risk going out of business. Amazon dictates many details of the DSP, including what vans to use, branding to include on the outside of the van, installing AI cameras in the cars and the vans to monitor the drivers, Amazon branded uniforms for the drivers. Drivers also use Amazon's routing app, which tells them which routes they have to take, how many packages to deliver, and how quickly they're expected to deliver them. Delivery quotas are notoriously bad. Drivers have admitted to urinating in bottles in the back of the vans to avoid stopping for bathroom breaks so that they can make quota. And while Amazon essentially dictates each driver's life on the job, the drivers are not Amazon employees. They're employed by the DSP. Why would Amazon do things this way? Well, in September 2024 in New York, Amazon delivery drivers unionized in an attempt to bargain for better working conditions. And just 2 months ago, Amazon responded by canceling the contract with Cornucopia, the DSP that had unionized employees. This resulted in 150 unionized employees losing their jobs. It's illegal to fire your employees for unionizing, but Amazon's DSP model means that they were never Amazon employees in the first place. So Amazon didn't fire anyone, they just canceled the contract with the DSP. But if the DSP loses its only customer, what'll happen to the DSP and what happens to the drivers? This is just one tiny aspect of the Amazon way. They're unethical, and any jobs they bring in are likely to suffer high rates of burnout, and they'll probably automate them all away as soon as they're able anyway. So please don't allow them to come here, and also please cancel the Flock contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Our next speakers are Brendan McCarthy, followed by John Brown.
Hello, my name is Brendan McCarthy. I go by they, them pronouns, and I currently live in Ward 5. As someone who has lived in the Eugene-Springfield area all their life, I feel like I would have failed my city, my community, and my values if I didn't take the time to come speak on Amazon attempting to build a new warehouse here. I bet you can tell by my attire that I do in fact work for Amazon. With that said, I want to state that I do not represent their views or values, but I'm here as a constituent stating personal views on the matter. A big argument for building the new warehouse would be all the jobs that it would create, and as someone who currently works for Amazon, I can assure you that they don't always deliver the promises that they make. For those of you who have ordered through Amazon, you likely know that feeling too. Amazon is my secondary job, and although the wage is higher here than at my primary job, the hours lack consistency. When the hours are available, they go on a first-come, first-served basis with not nearly enough hours to go around. When I start to get a decent amount of hours, it comes at the cost of a coworker who goes with less or even without. If you happen to not be able to pick up a shift, even if you attempt every day, you will still be penalized for it. Then when you happen to get shifts, you are unnecessarily understaffed and overworked. When speaking to higher management, which are all off-site, I find that the support they are willing to provide is conditional on if it will positively affect profit margins. As an entry-level worker who handles the day-to-day on-site, it hurts to bring up valid concerns only to be met with a profit over people mentality. How can Amazon afford to build a whole new warehouse while also failing to give us a full team at the busiest times of day? I also see our environmental impacts through daily waste, such as bagging every return item in plastic, dumping one-time use metal that could be recycled, and trashing new equipment because after mere days, they no longer fit the Amazon aesthetic. While I work at a Locker Plus location, many of these issues indicate shortcomings of what Amazon's warehouse could look like. This new opportunity will focus on filling the pockets of Jeff Bezos rather than supporting our environment, our families, and our community. I ask each of you on the City Council to please consider an insider's view of Amazon's current standards. Does a corporate giant that takes profit out of our state and trashes our city while only providing us nothing more than unsustainable jobs really meet the standard of what it means to do business with Eugene? If you ask me, I believe the people of Eugene deserve better. Many of us in this meeting will leave this room asking the same question. Like Amazon, do our representatives choose profit over people? With all that being said, say flock no to Amazon. Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. Our next and final speaker to fit into the 90-minute time frame is John Brown. Oh. John. Mayor, technically we have like less than 2.5 minutes now. So I will say that's our final speaker.
Thank you to staff and to everyone who took the time and this opportunity to speak with council tonight. We'll now open the floor if there are any, and close the public comment period. If there are any comments from city councilors. Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. Manager, I don't know what work has been done by staff so far with regard to preparation of taking advantage of the new state legislation for the MERL opportunity of funding, but I would like to advocate for taking the next step, so I'm wondering whether that involves a work session poll or what to get that resolution to council to vote.
Yeah, so we have been working on this and working with the advocates and others, trying to understand it. So I don't think it's ripe for a poll just yet. You've already adopted a housing implementation pipeline, and I think I need to understand better, how does this tool fit in, and do you need a poll, or is it something we can just bring forward? So I think I just need to follow up with you, probably next week.
Okay, I'll look forward to talking with you
Or
about
later
that.
this week, I guess it's just Monday. Feels like Friday.
Thank you.
Councilor Groves.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everybody who showed up to speak tonight. City Manager, I had the same question as Councilor Clark. I would like to learn more about that as well. I've heard about it, but I would like a more in-depth understanding.
Yep, same.
Thank you.
Councilor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to thank folks from Better Housing Together and from Cornerstone for joining us tonight, and thank you for the work you've done throughout the community to provide affordable housing opportunities and pathways for permanent supportive housing. It's greatly appreciated. I appreciate the opportunity to meet face-to-face last week as well. So Darcy, Leah, Tiffany, and team, Mario and Andrea, and I know I'm missing someone, so I apologize. But I greatly appreciate housing advocates coming to council tonight to inform and to amplify some tools in our tool belt, or possibly in our tool belt, as authorized by the legislature in 2024. So I appreciate that amplification, and I look forward to next steps. I want to thank Congresswoman Val Hoyle, Speaker Julie Fahey, Mayor Karen Knutson, Council Vice President Lindsay Leach, and other elected officials who put together a joint statement, and I'm proud to stand, and I signed on to said statement about the recent ICE activity in our community. You may or may not have read about it. If you would indulge me, please, I hope I can get it in under a minute 34. Quote, "We are alarmed by the reported actions carried out by ICE in Lane County, which include the violent detention of several Oregonians and by the ongoing reports of individuals not receiving their constitutionally protected rights to due process and legal representation. This was the only most recent. This was only the most recent in a series of aggressive raids carried out across the state in recent months. We are working together with community leaders and local law enforcement to learn more and ensure that all of our constituents are accounted for. Every Oregonian and every person in these United States, regardless of immigration status, is entitled to full protections guaranteed by the Constitution. We will use all tools at our disposal as representatives of the community to ensure that those protections are upheld by individuals detained today and for any Oregonian subjected to unjust or unlawful enforcement actions by ICE." Mayor, you mentioned this pretty prominently in your opening statements. I thank you. And Councilor Ye, you pointed out some direct actions folks can take if they see ICE activity in our own backyard. I greatly appreciate the attention to detail, and I thank every community member who's here today to stand up and speak out for what's right, because what's happening in our own community is, underscore, bold, and italicize this, unconscionable. Thank you.
Seeing no other comments from council, I will just thank again everyone for joining us this evening. Bring a lot of topics and a lot of ground in our community these days, and we appreciate your care and your attention to each other. I now close the November 10th, 2025 City Council meeting, and we are adjourned.